Hi, everybody. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining the Justice and Mental Health Collaboration Program 2015 Technical Assistance Orientation Webinar. The JMHCP program is a very important initiative to help reduce the prevalence of individuals with mental illness that are in our criminal justice system and to promote further collaborations between organizations in both the criminal justice and mental health systems. After brief presentations by our speakers today, Maria Fryer and Nikisha Love-Weaver from the Bureau of Justice Assistance, or BJA, and Suzanne Brown-McBride and myself, Cynthia Kimmelman-DeVries from the Council of State Governments Justice Center, there will be time for a question and answer session. To ask a question, please type the question into the Q&A panel on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. We will do our best to answer your questions. If your question does not get answered during the webinar, please follow up via email after the event has ended. At the end of the presentation, we will provide email addresses for everyone speaking today. If you encounter technical or audio problems during this webinar, please call WebEx Technical Support at 1-866-229-3239, 1-866-229-3239. Please understand that there are some technical issues you may not be able to resolve. For this reason, we are recording this event today, and we will be emailing a link to the recording to all of the attendees, as well as posting it on our website later this week. Starting off the webinar today, we'll be welcomed by the Bureau of Justice Assistance staff, information about the current round of grantees, as well as discussion of the budget process. Following this will be a short presentation by the Council of State Government staff on technical assistance and what we do, and then we will conclude with time for Q&A for both BJA and CSG Justice Center staff. I'm now going to turn things over to Maria from the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
Well, hi and good afternoon. On behalf of the Bureau of Justice Assistance, I would like to congratulate and welcome you as a grantee to this orientation webinar. My name is Maria Fryer, and I am a policy advisor with the Justice Systems team overseeing the Justice and Mental Health Collaboration Program, as well as the Second Chance Act for adults with co-occurring disorders. I'm happy to be here at BJA working with you over the next few years because I, too, have worked with justice-involved clients, and I come from many of the communities and state programs where you work. And now at BJA in a different capacity, but yet I still look forward to working with you in this endeavor. So with that, we've got to first open this orientation by recognizing and acknowledging your accomplishment in this award. You have succeeded in securing grant funding in an incredibly competitive year. You represent approximately 16% of the applicants in 2015. Your applications were screened for basic minimum requirements, were reviewed, rated, and scored by panels of external peer reviewers. And after an internal review by BJA staff, you were recommended to the Assistant Attorney General for funding. So congratulations on your award. As recipients of this award, you each share a common goal to effectively serve people with mental illness in your local jurisdictions and to create positive, system-wide change for justice-involved people with mental illness, alongside many other professionals across the nation. In total, we received 172 applications in fiscal year 2015, and we're only able to make 28 awards this year, representing 19 states, 5 of which are in the planning category, 15 in planning and implementation, and 8 in the expansion category. On the next slide, you will see the breakdown in the categories. We had 12 law enforcement grants, 8 mental health, and 5 county-based Category 1, 2 juvenile, and 1 court. Many awards were made to first-time applicants, and many awards were made to law enforcement, where historically applications in previous years had been very low. We're very happy about that. So our expectations of you. Since each program was reviewed and selected based on criteria that uniquely qualified them as most competitive, I want to lay out some very specific expectations that we have of you. And we expect that you will serve the number of people that you proposed within your application and seek additional assistance. That you will actively take measures to seek appropriate services for the target population or services designed to meet the needs of the population you serve. That you will use evidence-based risk and needs assessment instruments to accomplish this. that you will incorporate evidence-based, trauma-informed treatment practices and interventions in your services and into your justice system response as a whole, that you will seek help when help is needed, and communicate regularly with your technical assistance coaches and BJA staff to include your program manager or myself, your policy advisor. So what do you expect of us? A lot, I hope. You can expect that we will support and assist you to set out to reach the goals of your program. We want you and your staff to have the necessary tools to serve this critically underserved population for the betterment of the communities where you live. Both program staff and policy staff will be responsive to your inquiries as they arise, whether they are technical, about allowable uses of funds, changes in key staff, requesting no-cost extensions, or whether they are regarding key changes at the state, county, or local level that you foresee potentially impacting your program. We will provide quality technical assistance through the Council of State Government Justice Center. A couple of words on the Justice Center. The Justice Center is a technical assistance provider for JMHCP grantees. They have many published resources, academic partnerships, and practical experience to assist you. In addition, BJA has supported law enforcement learning sites, mental health court learning sites, and numerous other pilot projects through the CSG Justice Center from which to draw experience and inform the work of new grantees. This year, we have an unprecedented number of law enforcement, over half the awards. So this is an incredible opportunity to learn from you and gather the data to move the field forward. With support, we hope to learn from you and as you continue to raise the bar as experts in the specialized police response. Each of you will have a TA coach assigned to you by the Justice Center, and we expect them to call you, email you, challenge you, and provide support to you. Overall, considering everything that we've shared so far, what we are trying to achieve is a better outcome for people with mental illness in our systems. Specifically, we are looking for reduced recidivism rates, so fewer jail bed days, of course, and improved functional outcomes such as the attainment of stable housing, opportunity for employment and long-term employment, and fewer hospitalizations. We've revised our performance measures so that we are asking you for data in ways that can best capture this information. In order to continue this work, we must have the information to communicate to stakeholders about what this program is accomplishing, how it is affecting change, and how grant funds are used to accomplish this change and report results. We also look at performance data to make program improvements along the way. So about us. Next, I want to tell you a bit about the Bureau of Justice Assistance and the Office of Justice Programs in general. I work in the Policy Office as a policy advisor for substance abuse and mental health at the Bureau of Justice Assistance. I oversee a number of programs pertaining to the intersection of substance abuse and mental health with the criminal justice system, including this program, the JMHCP program, in addition to Second Chance Act program for adults with co-occurring disorders. My colleagues within the BJA Policy Office are heading up efforts to assist programs in connecting participants to health care, which is so important, and as you know, will allow for greater access to substance abuse and mental health services, especially for those re-entering their communities from prisons and jails and in need of Medicaid. Other areas that I am specifically involved in that may touch on the work that you do is in my work with the National Center for Justice-Involved Women and Criminal Justice Behavioral Health Information Sharing. Relative to this work, we are a small staff dedicated to translating best and promising practices into quality policies and programs for the justice field. Also within BJA is the Programs Office. The Programs Office manages the individual awards that you have received, and as such, you have been assigned a grant manager, either Nikisha Love Weaver or Veronica Munson. Nikisha and Veronica will be your contacts within BJA who can answer all of your questions pertaining to allowable costs, management of the award, and reporting. We work closely together to ensure that all JMHCP grantees remain on track with their awards. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Nikisha, who will talk about the budget approval process, accepting your award, financial clearances, and other grant management issues. So welcome and thank you. Go ahead. Thank you.
Hello. Thank you, Maria. My name is Nikisha Love, and I am the grant manager for the Justice and Mental Health Collaboration Program awards. Along with myself, there's Mrs. Veronica Munson, who also oversees the Justice Mental Health Grants. In regards to budget reviews and budget approval, at this time, the budgets are still being reviewed by OCFO. If you look on your applications of your special conditions, if you see one special condition that considers to be a conditional clearance, that means that your budget is still under review. The budget has not been approved. If the budget is approved, you should receive something from GMS. If not, you receive something from myself or Veronica Munson in regards to your budget approval. Award acceptance. Before funds can be drawn down or anything, the awards need to be accepted. So if you have not accepted your awards, we ask that you do so at this time. Submit your award acceptance. If you're having issues in accepting the awards, please email myself or Veronica Munson in regards to that matter. Special conditions. You may have other special conditions outside of the budget-related areas. If so, please contact us so that we can assist you with getting those cleared. General questions regarding your budget, again, myself or Veronica Munson, acceptance of the awards, and also for you to select your financial person, you will need to do that also in order to have access to drawdown funds. We are available. Email addresses will be linked at the end. Again, if you have any questions, please contact us. Congratulations on behalf of BJA, myself, and Veronica. Thank you. I'll turn it over to CSG.
Hi, everyone. I'm Suzanne Brown-McBride, and I am the Deputy Director for Policy and Programs at the Justice Center. And I wanted to just extend a really warm greeting for you today. I appreciate you taking the time to walk through this call. I wanted to spend a couple moments this afternoon telling you a little bit about what and who CSG is before we dive into specifically what we can be doing for you in your program. The Council of State Governments is a not-for-profit, nonpartisan membership association of state government officials. What that means is that we work with all 3 branches of government in all 50 states to provide advice to them on a variety of policy issues. The Justice Center at the Council of State Governments is the public policy arm that works on criminal justice and public safety issues. Part of what we do is work on 3 national projects, which I think really combine to try to give us a technical assistance footprint and part of what we do for you. The first is obviously the Criminal Justice and Mental Health Program, and what we do is to work to improve responses to individuals with mental illness who are in contact with the criminal justice system. But 2 other projects that we work on, which may be both interesting and relevant to your work, is we also provide technical assistance for the National Reentry Resource Center, which focuses on the safe return for people who are coming out of incarceration and trying to get them rehooked back into the community and to promote their success, as well as Justice Reinvestment, which is our whole state initiative to increase public safety and to reduce money spent on corrections and other initiatives that may be less effective and redirect funding into initiatives that may be more effective. And if you're curious about any of the work that we do, please visit our website at csgjusticecenter.org, and the particular section that might be of real interest to you is around mental health. So that's just a little bit of an overview of what we do. I'm going to turn things over to Cynthia, who is a member of our policy staff, who can walk you through some of the specific work we're doing as part of our technical assistance for the JMHCP program.
Thanks so much, Suzanne. Hi, everyone. My name is Cynthia Kimmelman-DeVries, and I'm here representing a team of technical assistance coordinators who work under Suzanne and the Justice Center's Behavioral Health Project. We're here to provide assistance to you over the course of your grant and under the JMHCP program. Technical assistance means different things to different people, so the main goal of today is for you to leave this webinar with a sense of the types of things the Justice Center staff can help you with and the resources we have to draw upon. Over the course of the next year, our primary function is to help you achieve the goals you've listed in your grant applications and that BJA funded you to do. On your screen now are a few of the examples of what your technical assistance coordinator can do for you or reasons to contact us. We can help you support your team's efforts through on- and off-site technical assistance. Off-site technical assistance are regular phone calls, check-ins, and emails we will have with you and your key stakeholders or partners, usually, for example, on a monthly basis. For on-site technical assistance, we have resources to conduct a limited number of in-person visits to those grantees that have a situation that would benefit from an in-person consultation by Justice Center staff and a content expert. Another thing we do is connect you with resources such as research findings and practical tools, and experts such as researchers and practitioners who can help you resolve challenges you face in meeting your goals. Through the multiple technical assistance programs we manage, we are also able to connect you to individuals and programs that are in your shoes right now, or implementing programs similar to yours. Through meetings, online at our website, small learning communities, and webinars, and through our National Criminal Justice Initiatives map that's posted on our website and on your screen now, we're able to link you to programs that are implementing practices similar to your own. The Criminal Justice Map allows you to sort by type of grant program, year an award was made, the type of target population, and specifically if the program focuses on juveniles and within a certain number of geographic miles that you specify. In addition to our technical assistance, we have a monthly newsletter, which is a compendium of information on important topics on criminal justice and mental health collaborations in the field. It includes upcoming funding opportunities, webinar announcements, profiles of current and past JMHCP programs and their milestones, important research, as well as links to a number of articles on criminal justice and mental health that appear in national newspapers and magazines around the country. You can sign up for the newsletter from any page on the Justice Center website. Your Technical Assistance Coordinator and the Justice Center will hopefully keep you from reinventing the wheel and make sure that if someone out there is doing something similar, you know about it and can benefit from their experience. If there's research that is relevant to your program, we'll connect you to it. And if there's an expert that can troubleshoot a problem that you're facing and help you achieve your goals, we want you to have access to them. We're also here to make sure that you're not alone in the process of achieving your grant goals. Your programs are spread around the country, and sometimes even your team members are located in different geographic areas. We are here to make sure that you know that there are others who are doing similar things as you and make sure you're in touch with them. With these things in mind, I'm now going to talk a little bit about what your technical assistance includes specifically. First, everybody is invited to a JMHCP Grantee Orientation and Conference on December 14th through 16th at the Marriott Woodman Park in Washington, D.C. This is an excellent and important event. Experts from the field will be presenting. There will be work sessions conducted by Justice Center staff as well as national speakers. You will have the opportunity to meet with your technical assistance coordinator in person and network with peers from around the country. Your technical assistance coordinator can help you determine which staff members are most appropriate to bring to the event if you're having trouble deciding who from your program should attend. Second, your technical assistance coordinator will be helping you work on a planning and implementation guide or P&I guide, which you will be receiving in the coming weeks. This is a structured process to help you think through some frequently asked questions and frequently encountered situations and challenges in implementing justice and mental health collaboration programs. In the next few weeks, we'll be hosting another webinar to orient you to the process, and your TA coordinator will be setting up a future phone call with you and your team members to specifically go over this guide. It is not necessary to start completing the guide until you receive more specific direction from your TA coordinator. While it's a requirement for Category 2 planning and implementation grantees, we ask all grantees to complete it and are creating a unique guide for Category 1 county grantees. For those grantees that have already been a recipient of a JMHCP grant in the past, you'll notice this year that the P&I guide will look very, very different from years past. We'll be working closely with you to complete it over the course of your program. Thirdly, in addition to all of the resources I've just mentioned, the Justice Center website has a vast library of written research documents, practitioner guides, as well as distance learning opportunities. All of these documents are free and downloadable from our website. We have a suite of publications on mental health courts, law enforcement, and probation initiatives, a checklist for implementing evidence-based practices, our report on prioritizing scarce resources for adults being supervised in community correction settings, guidelines for the successful transition of people with behavioral health disorders as they leave jail or prison, as well as our very popular Breaking School Rules publication on the school-to-prison pipeline. This was an unprecedented statewide study of nearly 1 million Texas public secondary school students and followed for at least 6 years. We conduct a series of webinars over the course of the year on topics that have been requested by JMHCP grantees. There's also an archive of previously conducted webinars on a variety of topics that can be found on our website under the Resources heading and can be viewed at any time. Recent webinars include screening and assessment, data collection, measuring program performance, developing clinical interventions, trauma services, and gender issues in the criminal justice and mental health systems. In addition to those that are done monthly by the Mental Health Program, the National Reentry Resource Center also conducts a monthly webinar series on similar topics, all of which can be viewed through the page on your screen. You will also have a customized technical assistance plan. You have already been assigned a technical assistance coordinator from the Justice Center who will be familiar with you and your team and the grant goals you have outlined. You will work with this coordinator over the course of the year to identify relevant resources, troubleshoot questions that are coming up as you're working with your grants, and make connections with other programs around the country. You and your TA coordinator will work on a TA plan when it makes sense for you to be checking in on how they can be helpful. You will also work with your coordinator to identify whether or not your program is appropriate for one of our site visits. In addition to the planning and implementation guide, we will be sending you a TA worksheet. It is a short 2-page description of what technical assistance includes and also has a section where you can request specific types of technical assistance. So if you already know that there's something you would like more information about or contact with an expert about, it's an excellent way to address that and give your TA coordinator a heads up about it. You will receive that by email when your TA coordinator contacts you. Lastly, the slide shown is an example of what the main mental health website looks like with the address at the top of your screen. If you're eager to stay abreast of all of the information we gather about the behavioral health field before our monthly newsletter arrives in your inbox, navigate to the In the News link on the center of our page, and you'll receive real-time updates of the content that's compiled daily and weekly and that contributes to our monthly newsletter. I urge you to take a look at it, sign up for the newsletter, and explore the vast number of resources it contains for you to get information. If all things work as planned, when you close out of WebEx today, you'll be directed to a page on our website that will allow you to sign up for our newsletter. We encourage you and your teams to do this to start receiving this very valuable information. And for notes to folks who have previously subscribed to our emails, last year we updated the service we use to send out our emails to you. So if you were a previous subscriber of our newsletter, you may have to subscribe again if you stopped receiving information on a monthly basis. I hope this has been helpful. I've been giving you examples of what TA looks like from the Justice Center and some specific examples of the types of things we do. At the end of the presentation, we will display all of our contact information. Please feel free to email the appropriate person for additional information, either the BJA staff for more fiscal and grant-related management issues, or either myself, Suzanne Brown-McBride, Nicole Jarrett, or Sarah Wurzberg for technical assistance issues. As a reminder, we'll be emailing out these slides later this week, as well as posting a link to the recording on our webinar page in archive form. We're now going to begin the question and answer session. To ask a question, please type the question in the Q&A panel, which is on the bottom right-hand side of your screen. I will be moderating the questions coming in from participants. We'll do our best to answer as many of your questions as possible in the time remaining. And again, if we run out of time, please do email one of us using the information provided on the screen. We're going to wait just a minute for people to get a chance to chat or QA in their questions, and we'll start in just a minute to allow people to ask some questions. Hi there. We received a question about the December 14 to 16 meeting, one of the 2 required meetings we must attend. And yes, this is where things get a little confusing. The solicitation asks that everybody budget for 2 events. One is an orientation and one is a national conference. The Justice Center is super efficient, and we have made those events be back-to-back. So essentially, the orientation will be Monday, December 14th, and the national conference is Tuesday and Wednesday, December 15th and 16th. So what that means for your cohort of grantees, we call you guys the lucky ones. You have satisfied your going to 2 events requirement with 1 event or 1 trip to Washington, D.C. That means that you will probably have some extra funds in your travel line that you are able to spend on additional variety of different things. That could be going to additional conferences that are within the criminal justice or behavioral health field. That could be going to and or using those funds to be diverted into another budget category, for example, for direct service work, maybe for staff professional development. What we suggest actually is that you work with your technical assistance provider to come up with how you would like to use any remaining funds in that category, and also know that for any budget line, if it's more than 10% of the total budget line that you would be changing, that does require a grant adjustment notice, and that will have to be reviewed by BJA. Okay, the next question is, when can we expect to hear from our TA coordinator? The TA coordinator assignments have been made, and they will be reaching out to you guys in the next 1 to 2, 3 weeks. You'll be receiving emails, probably sooner than that, from a TA coordinator who's going to ask that you pick some dates for a conference call. At that point, you guys can get acquainted with one another, and you can also talk about attendance at the conference and talk a little bit about overall technical assistance and what that's going to look like for the future. This is a great question. Someone wrote in and asked if they should wait for contact from their TA provider before calling our team, our team. Absolutely not. Please do go ahead and start meeting together and start talking through some of the grant initiatives and goals and the things that you've outlined, and start doing some of that really great brainstorming. Your TA coordinator will be able to help facilitate some of those conversations if you're really struggling or having some issues with that, but absolutely you do not have to wait to hear from your TA coordinator to start doing that work. The way that we see TA coordinators is that we are here to help facilitate and help assist you with any of the specific things that you need, but never to delay the work that you're doing or get in the way. So we really encourage you to go ahead and start meeting already. Okay, hold on one second. Okay, Nikisha, this is a question for you. The question says that if the special condition of our award said conditional clearance, that we would get an email from GMS about approval. If it does not indicate this, should we assume that our budget has been approved as is?
No. What you would need to do is contact myself or Veronica in regards to your budget. Once OCFO has finished their review, if they do need additional information, we will reach out to you. And we're trying to have all of this done prior to the conference.
Great, thank you, Nikisha. We're going to pause for just another minute as questions come in. Okay, another question just came in on when I should contact my BJA grants manager versus my TA provider. Anything that has to do with budget or fiscal management or the specific requirements of the solicitation would be a Veronica or Nikisha question. Things that have to do with your actual grant goals and deliverables would be your technical assistance coordinator. So that might be things like developing stakeholder collaborations, issues that you might be having around some of that collaboration, selecting screening and assessment tools, thinking through case management issues, a whole host of all the things that would come up in your daily program operations are the types of things that your TA coordinator can review with you. And we have a team-based approach to TA at the Justice Center, so even if your technical assistance coordinator might not know the answer to a specific content-related question that you might have, somebody on the Justice Center team, it's very likely would, or we're able to bring into our TA phone conversations with you. That is generally the distinction. Maria, I think this is a question for you. Person asked if we will receive reviewer comments on our proposal's strengths and weaknesses.
That's a great question. They did go out to those that were the non-awards, but if you would just contact me, I'll be sure to get them to you.
Great, thank you so much. This is a very easy question. Could you please repeat the total number of applicants received? Yep, it was 172. So if you're doing the math, that means that it is approximately 16% of the grants that were actually awarded. So you guys are in a very, very, very competitive field. Another question that we received was, who do I send to the conference? So your solicitation says that you can send up to 4 people, and part of that is dictated by how many people you actually wrote into your budget. I actually asked this question of Nikisha just before we got on the phone, that if you, because you have 2 events that you budgeted for and everybody will probably be underspent in that budget line, you're able to send more than that if you'd like to. If you are sending more than 4 people, we would ask you to give a heads up to your TA coordinator, just so from an accommodations perspective that we are aware that you're going to be doing that. And as far as who we ask you to send, general guidelines. We ask that because you have a partnership between criminal justice and mental health, that you send 1 person minimally from your criminal justice entity, 1 person minimally from your mental health entity, and then a person that is going to be familiar with some of the grants management or administration of your grant. So that might mean the person that is actually doing budget reports or completing the PMT reports or is handling some of the budget and or fiscal issues. You might not have a separate person that does that. That could be an on-site administrator that's doing that. And we also like to encourage you that you can use the attendance of this conference as a way for you to help build collaboration with your partners. So for example, if you have a partner that's really interested in professional development training but would not otherwise be able to afford to go to a conference, this might be a really excellent way to offer that person some funds in order to do this travel and to get some of this professional development learning and to bring them on board and to get them kind of in your corner. So that's one of the great uses of this conference, is to help build collaborations between your actual team members. Your TA coordinator can actually work really closely with you to determine who those specific people are if you're still unclear or you're unsure. Once they learn a little bit more about who's specifically working on the grant and they hear a little bit about your specific goals and initiatives, they'll be able to work with you to suggest who those people might be. We're going to pause again to see if there are any additional questions. Maria, this is sort of a question for you, I think, in general. I think this is sort of a new question. Will we have an opportunity to get the details of other programs awarded funds this year, the locations, contacts, and details of what they are using grant funds working in? So basically information on the rest of the cohort?
That is an interesting question. Well, we do ask that abstracts are posted on our website. Well, permission to post them. That's one way to gain information. Although we have to I think we've had some little technical difficulty with that lately, so we've got to look into that a little further. But one thing that we did this year with the cohort of JMHCP grantees was we brought them all together for a technical assistance summit, which I know Cynthia could add to this, but it was an incredibly wonderful learning experience as far as what other jurisdictions are doing and ways that we could sort of learn from each other, and also bring in a lot of speakers and technical assistants outside of CSG to sort of add to the conversation. And so that was a great event, and I'm not sure if we'll be doing another one of those, but I know that the thought, I guess in mentioning it, is the thought behind it is that we can learn a lot from each other. And it's a small group of grantees, and so that's why it was something that we could do. We could bring everybody together. Another way that you can learn is from, as I mentioned, some of the learning sites and the pilot sites and some of the other initiatives that are taking place across the country, and those are specifically geared towards being learning sites so that others can learn strategies and technique and information from and lessons learned basically from those sites. So I hope that answered it.
And yeah, and I also just wanted to throw up back on the screen the National Criminal Justice Initiatives map.
Great.
So I don't think that the FY15 grantees are up there yet, but they will be up there very shortly. So you'll be able to actually search by JMHCP FY15 and see where around the country the 28 grantees have actually been funded. If you guys remember, on your abstract form, there was a checkbox that said that are you okay with disclosing this information? And I don't believe that everybody checkmarks that box, and that is handled by BJA, but you minimally can see where people are funded, not necessarily who they are. This is why our conference is really great. At the orientation in particular, all of the 28 grantees that are on this phone right now are going to be physically, or hopefully physically, at the conference on December 14th. And we do break you up in different groups that are similar cohorts together. So we're going to group some of law enforcement together and courts and so on and so forth. During the orientation, you're also actually going to have exposure to the FY14 grantees who were funded last year who did not actually have an orientation. But like Maria had said, we did have some of them in order to fulfill some of that requirement come on site to CSG this year and get to meet one another. So the orientation is a really excellent opportunity for you to get to hear and learn a little bit about who the cohort is. And don't worry, we don't keep you just with your like grantees. We do separate you guys and make sure that you're not just silly with your teams. So we make you strike out a little bit on your own. That's, I think, the best way to answer that. And then if we have any more information about disclosing all of that information, we'll be sure to send that out or share it with your TA coordinator. There was some information, some questions that were about what data to collect, and that's a really excellent question. There's a couple ways to answer that question. There are specific performance reports or performance measurement tracking that you will need to complete PMT. That is done quarterly. Your first report is going to be done in January, due in January. And just a heads up, for most grantees, you're not going to have anything to report. So as a TA coordinator myself, this is probably one of the first questions that we get from every single grantee. Oh my gosh, what do we collect? What do we do? All of our numbers are zero. The other agency, CSR, who manages that process, but is actually not the Justice Center, so we do not actually have access to those reports, nor do we see them. But CSR does, and they are fully aware that in that first quarter from October to December that most people have absolutely no activity and that you're going to have zeros. But to answer the bigger question of what data do you collect, there is more data that we encourage you to collect above and beyond the PMT reports that you are required to complete for BJA. And that's the type of issue that your TA coordinator will work with you on. We think that that is such an important issue. We have actually created an entire section of the planning and implementation guide just on data collection. So I promise you that will not be a topic of conversation that we will be short on conversation with. You'll probably not like your TA coordinator by the time we are done talking to you about data collection. Okay, let's see. The exact location of the orientation and conference so that you can book hotel rooms. Yes. I think that this week it's either Wednesday or Thursday. Our communications department is now sending out weekly emails to the points of contact for your grantees with all of the information on registering for the conference. You guys were just added to the list, and you may have missed last week's round of emails, but I think by the end of this week you should be receiving an email regarding the conference. If you are there are 2 points of contact that are listed in GMS, an authorized representative and then a point of contact. Those emails are going to only those 2 people. It's going to take us a little bit to update the registration list for all of the people that have attended this event today. Once we're able to do that, we will add the additional names to that list. But right now, all of that information is going straight to your GMS points of contact and authorized representatives. Please do feel free to email anybody on the contact list, which I'm going to bring back up on your screen right here. Specifically, you can email me. I'm the point person for coordinating the conference if you would like to be added and have not by the end of the week. So I ask that my inbox does not have a flurry of emails, please do wait until Friday to see if you get a registration link with all of the information. But it's at the Marriott Wardman Park, and there are blocks of rooms, and there's a specific link that's in the registration for you to follow in order to book your hotel room. There's another question about, is our full implementation date flexible? And I would say yes. These grants have actually been extended. JMHCP for planning and implementation grantees in particular used to be 2 years, and it's been extended to 3 because we have found over the course of time working with grantees that implementation time frame where you say that you're going to be planning for 6 months or 8 months and then implementing is somewhat fluid. A lot of programs will start serving clients, for example, or doing training or implementing their specific kinds of initiatives in small pieces at a time, so maybe only a couple of clients or some target population at a time, and we really encourage you to do that. BJA can echo this, and Maria can echo this, that we do not want you to be forced into the implementation of something that is not thoroughly and thoughtfully planned out in advance. So yes, the implementation date is flexible, and that's the type of issue that you would discuss with your technical assistance provider. We typically see variation of 3, 4, 6 months, possibly even longer, of what that date will look like. And your technical assistance provider will also work with you to coach you around if that date should extend much further past when you were anticipating. That might be something that we would want to give a heads up to BJA to know about, just so that they know that you are on track to complete your goals, but might be slightly delayed.
Agreed. Thank you, Cynthia.
Great. Thanks, Maria. Yep. Do you have recommended data collection software applications recipients should consider using? So I'm not actually going to answer that question specifically, but I'm going to say that is the expertise of your TA coordinator. And I don't want to give you some blanket things because I don't actually know what kinds of initiatives you each are doing, and that's going to be unique to what you have capable in terms of the types of databases that your systems are already incorporating or not incorporating. So it could be our programs collect data in a variety of different ways. There are still lots of programs around the country that collect data with pencil and paper and on hand and in files, and then there are lots of programs that have very sophisticated combined information technology, huge databases that they've constructed that all of their partners can access, fancy, and then usually most permutation in between. That's the type of area that your technical assistance provider will be able to walk you through, depending on what kind of resources you have and if you have budgeted for those types of things, or if that's something in the future that you are interested in doing. I'm going to pause for 1 more second and see if there are any other questions that come in.
Cynthia.
Yep.
Yes, this is Nikisha. I just wanted to reiterate on the questioning from the grantee, since we're taking a moment, regarding when should they contact their grant manager versus their TTA provider.
Yep.
Now, if they are having any program changes that need to be done, they do need to contact myself or Veronica.
Absolutely. And that gets to be sometimes very confusing for grantees. They're not sure who to contact. And my answer to that is always, if you're not sure, contact your technical assistance coordinator, and they'll be able to guide you with who your grant manager is and when to contact them. And generally, as Nikisha is very familiar with, we always are on the side of caution and make sure we're always giving BJA a heads up on any changes that need to be made.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
We have another question about whether or not the Justice Center is going to be visiting your site and whether or not, or what past TA might look like. So actually this year we have a little bit of extra grant funds to visit almost all of the grantees, so I suspect that there will be a lot of routine visiting that happens. Sometimes those visits are very pointed and they are specific to trying to solve a specific kind of problem. that might involve a data collection issue. That's on my mind right now because people are asking that question. It could be about building collaboration. It could be about planning and processes and procedural types of things for your specific programs. We typically will visit you with a technical assistance coordinator, so your TA coordinator, and we usually have with us some type of contact expert or consultant. That could be another Justice Center staff member, or that could be an outside consultant who's specializing in a specific area. So for example, if you are specializing in some kind of trauma intervention, we have access to a number of different centers around the country that specialize in that area, and that might be an expert from one of those that comes out with us that is knowledgeable in a specific trauma evidence-based practice or a specific screening or assessment tool around trauma that can provide your staff with training or coaching, or just a nice conversation that you have on site that you can't otherwise have in person when you're having a 1 hour or 2 hour monthly TA phone call with your technical assistance coordinator. On-site visits, we always find as TA coordinator staff are somewhat magical in the sense that you guys don't always get to have a full day to think about what these programs actually look like, and this carves out a day and a half, possibly 2 days, where you work with your TA provider to help build some of those good policies, practices, and procedures. And the level of conversation that you have also is just slightly different, which I think you'll also notice when we cut together at the conference. You get to have a lot of that very hands-on, one-to-one interaction with your TA provider. As far as what technical assistance has looked like in the past, like I had said in my introduction, we usually do phone calls approximately once a month. Depending on whether or not you have organized meetings with your stakeholder team or your core working group team, we try to coordinate our phone call with you around those phone calls, either before or after, depending on whether or not you need assistance with us helping plan or figure out what's on the agenda for those meetings, or to debrief what those meetings look like afterwards. Other things that we do just in general, routinely, monthly, and what you'll see is there are a lot of components around data, around the planning and implementation guide that talk through selecting your target population and determining who those folks are, what your collaborations look like, how you're collecting data, how you are building sustainability plans, and if that's something that we think is very important that we'd like to talk about up front in the process. So as soon as you receive your grant, we'd like to talk to you about sustainability long term. So those are some of the things that we'll talk about on your phone calls. And we get down into the real nitty-gritty around selecting screening and assessment tools and whether or not they are appropriate for your target population or where to use them in terms of the different community-based providers and stakeholders and folks that are coming to the table. So the appropriate tools if you are a law enforcement department, or if you are a court, or if you are a community-based provider, or if you are community corrections. We also get into the nitty-gritty of evidence-based practices. If you're having trouble selecting something specific for your target population, if they're more heavily mental health versus substance abuse, or they're more heavily substance abuse versus mental health, what the most appropriate evidence-based practices and how you might be building that in to your staff and what that looks like in terms of training and various other assorted things like that. So I think that's pretty much a good illustration of the types of conversations that we have. I also like to say that we encourage you to take a look at our website, but our website is very, at times, daunting and has a lot of information, it's helpful to have someone to help navigate that. There's a lot of really excellent resources, and that's another thing that we're able to do. So if there's something that you're interested in looking for on our website but aren't sure entirely how to find it, that's another area that we can help you narrow down what some of those tools look like. I'm going to wait just a couple more minutes and see if there are any remaining questions that have come in. Yes. So someone had asked when the planning and implementation guide will be provided, and can we clarify? Yes. It's not going to be provided to you, I think, until about the conference, actually. We're hoping to do a fairly substantial launch of it through the orientation sessions at the actual conference when you meet with your TA provider. Depending on the release of it, we have done a complete overhaul of it in entirety from the guide that we've been using in previous years, so we've had a lot of substantial work that's been done to it, and we're finishing up that work right now. We're also actually creating a special Category 1 guide for Category 1 grantees, and I think we're also creating a specific guide for law enforcement as well. Yes, my law enforcement team members are shaking their head. So while the core guide deals with major issues like sustainability, collaboration, data collection, the guides for the Category 1 grantees and for law enforcement are going to have some add-on materials that are specific to the needs of those grantees. If we're able to, we're going to try and conduct another webinar prior to the December conference to review the guide and some requirements around it beforehand, but I suspect that we will not be doing that. I suspect that we're going to be using the orientation and the day that we meet on that Monday to go over a lot of the components of the guide. So stay tuned, and I promise that there will be a global announcement for everybody, and you will not miss it. See if there are any more questions. We'll wait one more minute. Okie doke, I think we have exhausted most of the questions. I just want to check in, Maria and everyone else. Is there anything else you'd like to add to anything that's been asked?
Oh, thank you, Cynthia. Just wanted to say thank you for making the time to attend, and thank you for everything from CSG.
Great. And thank you so much, everybody, Nikisha and Maria. And like I had said, if there are additional questions that you have, you'll be able to email anybody on the screen. If it's budget or fiscal related, please do email anyone from BJA on the left-hand side of your screen and anyone from the Justice Center on the right-hand side. If it's particular to the conference, you can go ahead and email me directly. And once again, this concludes the Justice and Mental Health Collaboration Program 2015 Technical Assistance Orientation Webinar. Thank you all for your attendance and participation, and thank you again to Maria, Suzanne, and Nikisha. We're very much looking forward to working with all of you. We will be emailing a link to the web page for a recording of this presentation so that you can share it with program partners after the event, and it will also be available online on our website in just a few days at the link provided on your screen. Thank you so much.